Hello and welcome to the Now Spinning Magazine podcast with me, Phil Aston. And on this episode, I'm absolutely delighted to welcome back Greg Hart from Cats in Space. Many of you know I quite like this band, and I've kind of waxed lyrical, literally vinyl waxed lyrical about their albums. And since I last spoke to you, Greg, which seems a long time ago now, because when I did talk to you, you were about to embark on a theatre tour saying that we might lose our houses. No one's ever done this, but we've got to move out of the kind of sticky pubs and go to places where our fans might feel safer parking their cars. And you did that. And it worked, didn't it? It was a great success.
Well, I didn't quite lose my house, but yeah. I think I lost a few grey cells along the way. I think we all did. It was a massive thing to risk. But as the documentary, For the Love of It, James, it says it all really. I mean, it was a crazy thing to do, and everybody that has seen it has just kind of gone, wow, it's no one's doing that. And that's what we've said right from the get-go. We've now gone into a way of touring that, as crazy and tough as it is, nobody else is out there doing anything like what we're doing in this level. I mean, obviously you've got your bigger shows, but on this level of kind of theatre and club, if you like, no one's doing what we're doing. For good reason, because we now know why they're not doing it. And it worked. Kickstart the Sun was just. It was magical, It was everything we thought it would be, and the punters thought it was more than we told them it would be. So it worked. It was bloody. I mean, that was a 2 1-hour set show, which Damien found particularly grueling because, he's up in the rooftops at the best of times, and it was a really hard tour to do, but we loved it, and it was just fantastic.
Well, I got 2 friends, Chris and Simon, went to see you at Southend, and they said it was one of the best nights out they'd had for years. Proper rock, and obviously James's "For the Love of It" documentary really brings it home. Just what went on behind the scenes, and of course, who you're influenced by these bands like Queen, ELO, Sweet, City Boy, Boston, Styx, The Who, 10cc. I could just go on, but you're 100% Cats. But all of those bands, they're big. It's epic. It's theatre. Your music is larger than life. So I can see why, especially the live album, why this works.
Exactly. Yeah, our music has to breathe. We've said it for years now. No disrespect to the small clubs, because they're fantastic, and some of them out there are brilliant. I'll big them up all day long, but unfortunately, we just don't fit. We're not the kind of most musical perfectionist people out there, but when you're doing like some ballad that we've spent ages over on the album, and pained over how we're going to do it, then you go and do it live, and the fans really want to hear it, but you can hear the clinking of beer glasses and tills registering at the bar. It just doesn't work for us. Our music needs to have that space, and unfortunately, that means going to a bigger arena. So it's tough. I mean, it's not easy. We're not kind of suddenly turning into Styx or Queen in 1978, but that is the remit. That's what we want to do.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's a hard slog. It's a very hard slog to do it.
So 25th of October, 2024. The new album Time Machine is going to be let loose into the world. And I'm giving it that kind of build up, because I have to be honest, Greg, Kickstart the Sun was such a fantastic album, and I gave it a review online, and I think some people thought I was being paid or something. I just really believe that the album was just so uplifting, so perfect for the times that we live in. Everything about it was as if you guys knew exactly what I was thinking, the kind of music I really loved. And I've always thought sometimes, like any artist, whether you're a painter or whatever you do, you might think, how the hell do I top that? You've topped it. I honestly, I get sent lots of stuff to listen to, and sometimes I have to listen to it several times. And if I haven't reviewed it after the day I've played it a few times, I have to play it again because I can't remember exactly the ins and outs of it. When this album started, all of them, all the tracks, I know there's 3 extra tracks on the CD, I just thought this is just, you've done it. You've actually broke through the ceiling of Kickstart the Sun, which I, not because I doubt you in any way, you guys, but I just don't know how you're going to beat that. And you have. I think it's absolutely stunning.
Thank you. That's very kind words, Phil. Thank you. Well, to be honest, when we set out the kind of stall to do the album, me and Stevie sat down and he said, Time Machine was always a title that he had floating about. So he said, okay, what's Time Machine going to be about? Well, obviously the fans are going to go, well, it's H.G. Wells. We're going to tell everybody about, we got a time machine that goes back in time, and isn't it better back then? And we can whiz around the world as cats in space. I said, that's exactly what they expect us to do. So let's do the polar opposite, which is also what cats will do. And I said, the fact of the matter is, you don't need a time machine. And Stevie had these lyrics about these very uplifting kind of emotional lyrics about you live in the now because that's all you've got.
Yeah, very
so
true.
He said, let's not make it about, let's call it Time Machine, but it's very much about time is now, time is here, which is why there's no time machine on the artwork on the cover. It's somewhere else on the album, because if you look carefully, you will see it. And there's an amazing piece of artwork that Andy Kitzler's done for the gatefold, which is stunning, which really is quite, I'm going to stick my neck out and say it's as good as the Scarecrow cover, which I love. I still love Scarecrow. But the song Time Machine is about you live in the now, and it's a very emotional song. So we sat down and demoed, what became the Time Machine songs, and we said there's no concepts other than all the songs have to emote and try and bring people in to feel something, to kind of shine a light on stuff. I mean, Kickstart the Sun was a post-COVID time to get back to where we was going, but it became apparent really quickly, and I'm sure you'll agree, that as you go through these last few years, people are even more beat up than they were during COVID. There's a massive fallout to everything, and we didn't want to do a dark album and say, oh, it's all doom and gloom. We said you need to cuddle the world. So Time Machine, the album, is about putting a cuddle around, your music fans and saying, come on, let's be emotional here, just look after each other and find the positive and just move on. So all the songs have got a thread like that, really.
And the other thing is, every track could open or close this album. That's how I feel. I mean, how you actually worked out how you're going to do that, because every single one of them quite easily could open or close this album. The first one, obviously, has kind of like there's a Who feel in those opening chords.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is,
and the Sweet, because the Sweet nicked the Who.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's a real punch the air chorus, Time Machine. As you say, it's a really positive song, and the production, it's just immense.
Yeah, it's cinematic. I mean, every album
it is.
Really trying to get better. We've kind of got into the process now. We know exactly what we're going to do, and I know what the guys will bring to the table. So it's actually not, I can guess a lot of stuff now because there's 6 studio albums in. But for this album, I was recommended a studio in Brighton called Salvation Studios. It's a new studio. And they were selling themselves to me about this drum sound that apparently the guy at Foo Fighters have been in and said it's the best drum sound in the UK. Blah, blah, blah. Dave Gilmour's going in there and Rag and Bowman. So we went down to have a look at it. An amazing studio. It's the best studio I've ever been in, to be fair. It's pristine. It's all vintage equipment in there, but it's pristine. I mean, everything works perfectly and everything's tied into anywhere in the building. And there's a gallery for your fans to come in and watch you play live, which we did. So very, very quickly, we realised just how big that drum sound is in that place.
The drum sound incredible.
Yeah. I know. I said to my mate on Saturday, I said, it's almost like the Creatures of the Night Kiss drum sound in Cats in Space, which ain't no bad thing.
No.
And that set the stall out thinking, Christ, this is going to be thunderous, this album. And I said to Ian Capel, our engineer, and Stevie, I said, let's just get the biggest drum sound we can get and we'll just build around that, sod it. Let's make the drums big. We did.
You did. And my Father's Eyes, this is a song that's going to attach itself to many, many hearts, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, that's I wrote the song originally based around my dad, who died when we was doing Atlantis, and again, the thing is with me is I'm very, very good at writing kind of tongue in cheek kind of songs that are kind of not morbid, but they kind of I'll find the down on something rather than the up, and but from a not from a miserable sense of purpose, but more just a tongue in cheek observation. And I find it very easy to write like that. And Damien said, "Yeah, but I don't really want to have a song called My Father's Eyes that's not uplifting because my dad, his dad was his hero, and Damien's got a personal story about his father, which is quite sad. He's no longer with us as well." So he said, "I want to make it uplifting." I went, "Well, okay." So he changed some of the words around and we kicked it about. And the minute that song, because that was probably the first song for the album, I think. And we knew the minute we did that, we said, right, these songs on this album have got to be uplifting. So Father's Eyes became a song that we hope everybody that's lost their father, they'll engage with, because it is emotional, but it's a triumphant emotional. Again, it's celebrating rather than commiserating.
That's exactly how I felt it was, and I thought that because a lot of the demographic of Cats in Space fans, nearly everyone will have probably lost their dad, or have a story and know someone lost their dad. And I lost my dad when I was in my early 20s. And what I liked about it was, see the world through my father's eyes, is that now that I'm older, I do see the world through my father's eyes.
Exactly, Mundo. Yeah, and it's. My dad was, a glass half empty kind of guy in a funny sort of way. My dad was a funny guy, but he was a musician as well. So, he was, yeah, he had his own views on everything, and he was quite tough on me as a kid. Not personally, but just, he wouldn't say something was brilliant if it really wasn't brilliant. So he was quite realistic, let's say.
Yeah.
So I find it quite funny that I'm the age that I am. Do say the odd thing like my dad used to say. I can do a perfect imitation of my dad, which I won't do now, but I can talk just like him. And I try and steer away from it because I try and stay positive, and I'm learning to be more positive as a human being as life goes on. As my life coach would hopefully back me up.
Well, musically,
the music business beats you down. Yeah, but the game. It's a really tough game to be in, and it can really be hard. It can be very depressing at times. So you have to get the nugget that's good, and cling on to it. So Father's Eyes is about that.
And Crashing Down, which is the ballad, and that it sounds like it's about it. That's a good example, I suppose. It sounds like it's about a sad breakup, but it's still full of hope. It still has a very uplifting aspect to it.
Oh yeah, the middle eight section of that is for me probably the best middle eight I've ever written musically. When I wrote that on the piano, I wrote it quite a while ago, and I couldn't finish it, but eventually I got it all together, and I sent it to Damien. I said, "Look, I could probably have a tilt at this myself, lyrically and melodically." I said, "The only thing I've got that I want to stick to is the middle eight because it's going to blow the rooftops if we get this right." I said, "But I can't start the bloody song off." And as always, he said, "All right, I'll see what I can do with it." So he came back about 2 days later, demo of my piano and him singing over the top of it. And the minute he opens his mouth, I'm like, "Oh, he's done it again." But this time he's done a Scott Walker. He's done this low vocal, which you wouldn't expect. And I'm like, "Okay, this is different." And then when the chorus kicks in, it just like pins you to the chair. And I went, "That's Cats." And
it is,
and I love it. It's one of my favourite songs.
Is that you playing the guitar solo, or is it Dean?
Yeah, no, it's me doing the solo in that.
Because it's like a voice. It's like I put down on my notes. It's like the voice. It's like another voice carrying on with the song, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say the funny thing is about that. I'm glad you picked up on that solo, Phil, because I'm really, really proud of it. Because I'm not a big fan of lead guitar playing. Dean does it so much better than me, but I tend to do the Brian May stuff. And if I've got a really good idea for a melodic solo, I'll do it. But I don't sweat over it. If I think, oh, this is going to go nowhere. I mean, Dean's taken over some of my solos before and done a far better job. But this particular solo, when me and Stevie was demoing it, his girlfriend Zoe, who keeps a very tight rein on all of us here, she heard it and she went, "That song is magnificent. That is massive." She goes, "I love it." And then we got really buzzed up then because we knew that we got the approval of a female, which is always good. And we went in. And he said, "You're going to put a solo down?" I said, I said, "It's Dean's territory, really." I said, "But I'll have a faff." And I did that solo. And I don't know how I did it. I don't know what was in my head, but that's the demo solo. So on the finished album, that guitar solo is the only take I did of that guitar solo.
It's immaculate. Yeah.
The only thing I added to it was all the Brian May harmonies that come in at the end.
But the little twin lead bits. Yeah,
there's a choking note in there that I'm really pleased with because it actually goes off beat. So rather than you think the note's going to come down on the beat, it stutters, and that's I think why you're saying it sounds like a voice because it's like someone almost like choking the note out. Yeah. So I'm super pleased with that. My trusty Les Paul did well there.
It certainly did. Occam's Razor is the next track, and this is one of my favourites. I think because correct me if I'm wrong, there's a brass section and more female backing vocals on this, isn't there? Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yeah. We got a guy called Jack Birchwood who came in to Kickstart the Sun with us, did all them lovely French horns and saxophones and stuff. And he's a one-man brass orchestra. He can do the whole shebang, and he's got all the instruments.
Yeah.
So he came down to do some stuff on the bonus tracks in the studio with us. He's a fantastic player. I mean, he's so cool. He's a rock and roll brass man. He's not all stuffy. And he put all this amazing Who 515 style.
Yeah.
And I didn't tell him what to do. As in Kickstart the Sun, I just said, "Look," he kind of goes, bah, 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 he goes, "Yeah, I'll have a go at it," and I'll send it back. And he got it spot on. In fact, he does more than we asked him to. And then, of course, we got Julie Maguire, the Duchess, who sang the Million Miles duet.
Yeah.
She's sung on a couple of albums. And she, again, little thing that she came in and blew her nuts off to Occam's Razor. Those ad libs at the end.
Again,
It's one take. I said, "Do you want to take?" We always say to her, "You've done all your stuff with Damien. You've done all your big oohs and ahs and your lovely backing vocals." I said, "Do you want to just have a go? Just go nuts. Just do your thing." And that's what she did. And we just had a go. Wow. The funny thing is, and I keep saying with her and Damien, they are so in tune with each other. It's unbelievable. They're telepathic. So whenever he does something mega, she does the female version of it underneath, and they just weave these ad libs in. You think, we don't know what to chuck out here. It's just too good,
No, it's fantastic. It's almost got, especially then, it's almost like got a Bob Seger Hollywood Nights feel. The female vocals is so powerful. It's fantastic. And I love the fact that it's quite a few times in Cat songs where everything drops right back. It does in this song about 2.5 minutes in, it just drops back, and before you rush forward again. Yeah.
You hear me? That's us doing the Pete Townsend bit where I take over the lead vocal. I was meant to sing the whole passage, and I did it on the demo, and it sounded pretty good, actually. I was quite pleased with it. But there was a big note that I thought, there's no point me trying to put that a bad big note on the album when I know Damien will just smash it. But to do that, he needed a run-up, so he needed the line before. So he ended up singing half of it as well. But I love it. I really love that. Like I said, the drop, and you're thinking, you know something's going to happen here.
Yeah, exactly.
Explosion time, and then the band kick in, and Dean plays that guitar solo. That is my favourite solo by Dean.
It's real rock and roll solo, isn't it? It's a proper rock and roll solo. Yeah,
he did that on a vintage Telecaster, and it's the best sounding Telecaster any of us have ever heard. It belongs to Dave Fowler from the Ozzy Floyd, and he lent it to Dino, and he brought it along, and he said, "You've got to hear this guitar. It's not like any other Telecaster I've ever heard." We plugged it in. It was like, bloody hell. and he just whacked it out. It's amazing.
No, it's brilliant.
My favourite solo on that one.
And in Forever and Ever is also got ballad, love song, beautiful. And it's got like a lovely 70s synth sound in there as well, hasn't it? It kind of reminded me of something from that period.
Yeah, it's very kind of Rick Wakeman-y kind of movie sound.
Yeah, it is.
Again, it was a song that I actually wrote the music a long time ago, but I couldn't get it finished. And I always wanted to do my Elton John moment piano, because everyone will tell you if there's a piano in the room, I'm down there, I'm playing it, So I do write a lot on piano these days. I've got a piano at home, so in fact, I think I wrote virtually all this album, bar 2 tracks on piano.
Oh,
musically.
that's interesting.
And that was one of the songs that I was super pleased with, because I just had all the chords that Elton John would use in there. And again, Damien sends me back this vocal. I'm like, oh my god, it's like Dennis DeYoung, bit of Leo Sayer in there.
Yeah.
Well, it's all in there. I mean, it's my second favorite song on the album, actually, because it came out production wise exactly as what was in my head. And the play out again with Julie on backing vocals and me and Mick Wilson doing the U's and R's. Oh, it's wonderful. And it's every sound on that track. I mean, we could remix that song in virtually any way, and it would still sound that big. It's just, it came out really. Hats off to Ian Capel, because he had to take the beast on that one. But you love it. I absolutely love it. It's a very personal song.
As you just said, you could remix this track in so many different ways and it would still work. Obviously, as an artist, and the way you produce Cats in Space and the amount of backing harmonies, the absolute theatrical, cinematic way that these songs put together, do you find it difficult to know when to actually put your brush down?
Nope. Oh yes, so yeah. I never used it, to be honest. Back on the Scarecrow days, the brush never went down. The only thing that went down was the price. We ran out of money. I would just put there's stuff on Scarecrow. There's depth of sound there.
Yeah.
Of some of the keyboard sounds, like vintage keyboards, that you can't really hear that well, but they're all there. So we've learned over the years where the nuggets are. There's a certain John Barry kind of Don Black kind of vibe that we like to get with the harpsichord and the piano sounds like Randall Kirk. That's our signature sound now, and it's my favourite sound. So you're always going to hear that sound on the Cats albums, because it's kind of become our trademark a bit, 007, if you like.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I've kind of, funny enough, on this album, I wanted to do less is more. I wanted to try and knock it back a bit and just keep them drums and the guitars and the bass and the keyboards tight within themselves without going too nuts. But the trouble is, we do go nuts on the vocals, and when we go nuts on the vocals, you start taking a hell of a bandwidth. And once you're into that kind of realm, it's like, oh, we're just going to do it.
You just got to do it, and you really.
There's acoustic guitars all over the place, because acoustic's really part of our sound, is the acoustics.
Yeah.
And it just gives us lovely sheen and gloss to the whole production, So, but Forever and Ever is a classic example where every instrument just worked out the box. I knew exactly how everything was going to go. And, although it's a simple drum track on this song, it's still absolutely, the sound is phenomenal.
It's absolutely phenomenal, which leads us into, I don't know, because I'm listening to like an advanced stream of the album, so I don't know whether Ivory, Anthem and Run for Your Life are on first track side 2, are they, on the
That's
vinyl?
Correct. Yeah, Ivory Anthem is the intro to side 2, which is the hardest thing we did, because we was kicking around the running order for months. Because at one point that was the intro. The album was going to start off with Ivory Anthem.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
But every time we tried to do it, we couldn't find where to put Time Machine other than on the first track of side 2 or the end of side 2, which meant one of the ballads was going to have to, and it became a headache. And then eventually I went, okay, let's do it as side 2 and treat it as almost like a separate album, almost, in a way.
It's just so huge. It's just so epic. It's like it's like the power of rock in 2024. And then just when you think where we're heading now, Run for Your Life, that chord sequence, which is it's one of those chord sequences you think, I know that. And then you think, I don't know where I know it from. Actually, I don't think I do know it. It just sounds just so perfect. It must be one of those chords that you must have thought, this is going to work. And then we come to a chorus where I've just thought, wow.
Wow, yeah. It's one of those where the chord sequence is actually similar to Crashing Down. And I got a bit concerned thinking, oh, that's a bit close. Oh, no, it's not. It's conceptual. We're making that's all part of the concept, But yeah, there is something about that progression. But what lifts it away from the obvious, I think, is on the third turn of the chorus, when it goes to the major chord of Run for Your Life, and it gives that triumphant major key version of the first 2 lines. And for me, that is like, oh mate, that is it's AOR, but it's purest form, you know. And
I mean,
otherwise, it's like a Thin Lizzy song in some
yeah, but
respects.
you mentioned the drum sound, but on this track, the drum sound on this track is just I mean, it sounds great on all of them, but there's something about
Mm.
this song and the drums on this one, and this is another one where I think is about 4.5 minutes in, it drops back and does this Cats thing, where you kind of logged into where we're heading next, and then boom, we're back into the race to the finish.
Oh, I'm always doing that. I mean, sometimes I need to stop doing it because there's
No,
always
you
that.
don't.
Oh, there's going to be the lull before the big ending. You know, I've always liked doing it. I just find if you're going to tell a little story, you've got to. It's like a film, isn't it? When you
Yeah,
build
yeah,
the
yeah,
film
yeah,
up,
yeah,
and then there's the calm before the storm,
yeah, yeah.
and then you have the big cinematic ending and the titles. And I think if you're going to do that, then that's
You
how you're
do
going to
it.
do it all.
No,
But I've got to say this about the drum sound. I mentioned this to someone earlier. They said, about the production. I said the amount of mics that were on the drum kit alone was a ridiculous, just a ridiculous amount. There were 7 bass drum mics, 7 mics
seven,
on the bass drum,
seven.
just on the bass drum. I don't know how many mics were in the room. There's loads. There's 2 overhead room mics we had that were, I mean, they're the price of a car each. These mics, they're worth a fortune, and they were the big boom mics that got the sound of the whole room, and that's what made that sound. So yeah, there was an awful lot of mics on the drums, hence why it's so big.
Because one of the things about talking to you, Greg, is, and I talk to quite a lot of people now, is that you were obviously all together when you were doing this. You weren't dialing this in from different parts of the world. I mean,
No,
that gives you. I know a lot of other people say, well, it saves on airfares, it saves on hotel bills, and it saves on, and people can be in their private studio redoing things 50 times before they send it off. There's a just because of the way this album has affected me, there's an authenticity to this that it feels like you're all together.
yeah, well, we were all down in the studio in Brighton together. I mean, I recorded a lot of my guitars in the studio with these massive amps behind me. We got some footage, which we filmed and stuff, because there was 2 days in the session where we used the VIP guests came in and watched us play live. Hence the bonus tracks. We recorded those 3/4 live in the studio, so
Wow.
we were all there. We were all there, yeah. There's definitely something to be said for when you got a band that is in a band zone and headspace, that you're all making an album. Something goes into those recordings. You can't fake that. That's how you do it. You can't dial it in from around the globe. You can't. Because things happen in the room. Things happen with Stevie when he's doing the drum track. He's learned them drum tracks from the demos to an oomph of its life. But when we're actually in the room and he's actually doing it, and I'm in the control room with Ian, things happen. Like Cat
Yeah,
Weasel said, magic happens.
he did. The Velvet Rush. Now this is one of these songs that crosses every genre, whether it's pop, rock, and I love the kind of this almost like a 70s theme from the Protectors TV series. It's got that kind of
You got it.
70s crime drama.
You got it. Yeah, Persuaders, Randolph, Kirk.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, yeah.
That's exactly the remit. That's exactly, again, that song really epitomizes what I call the Cats in Space piano sound, which is the
Yeah,
piano, the
yeah,
harpsichord, and
yeah,
the
yeah.
dulcimer. I mean, we learned how to do it. We was Wikipediaing, and we've learned over the years how John Barry and all those great songs were written in the 60s. And it is a dulcimer, harpsichord, and tap piano. And you bed it together and you get the right kind of big old fashioned plate reverb on it. And if you get the balance right, Ian Capel comes from that school. He comes from that era. So he knows how to make that sound. And once we found it, we're like, I'm having that sound on so many things you won't believe. And we added a few more bits on top, and it's my favourite track on the album. I'm not frightened to say, because
Ah, right.
it came out 100% as I hoped it would, which doesn't often happen. But everything about that song and the vocal, again, Damien did that vocal in one take,
Wow.
and I wasn't even in the room when he did it because I had to go out to make a phone call. And I came back and he said, "Oh, I've done a vocal. See what you think." I went, "Oh God!" And we just pressed play, and I went, "It's done. One take." I think he did 2 takes, but it's the first take we kept. I mean,
He's
astonishing, and also I've got a big shout out to Jeff Brown, our bass player. His bass playing, and there's a lot of you can hear the bass really
Yeah,
prominently on
you
this.
can. Yeah, yeah. I should have mentioned Jeff. You can hear his bass
Yeah.
playing so clearly. Yeah,
Oh, he grooved on that song so well. It really sounded fab, you know. So, yeah, it's my favourite song. It's going to be a single, which will come out after the next single. So yeah, it's in the can, ready to go uh, late towards Christmas because it's as you said. I think it's our one chance of crossover.
it's.
If there's a Cats in Space song to crossover everywhere, that's it. So,
Totally agree. It does cross over every genre, and
yeah.
I think it's a beautiful song. Yesterday's Sensation has kind of a Supertramp 10cc Queen type feel. Great chorus
Mhm.
and stunning vocals.
Oh,
Absolutely.
I know. And we had our fans on that. You'll hear the Cat fans on the choruses because they came down obviously when we was doing it, and we said we need you to sing on the album, and they were like, "Oh my god!" So Stevie got around in a room with his ruler, and he became teacher, and he got them all to sing in time, and that's what you hear on the album. But yeah, it's the shortest song on the album, but I love it because it's very concise and it got every bit in there that we wanted to get in there, and it's a good song. That's a classic Cats in Space song.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
could be on the first
yeah.
album.
It is the guitar lines and everything's fantastic. And Immortal, um, this is. I love the chorus on this. This is again. It's got a really uplifting feel to it. When we spoke before, Greg, we talked about how the music is so emotive, and I think that Cat's music does work on a almost subconscious level and how it makes you feel inside. Maybe
Mm.
it's, as you said at the start, because of what's going on when we turn the news on. But there are certain, the way that you magically put together things that do have a melancholy side. As you said, sometimes lyrically you're kind of there's a negative overtone, but it doesn't come out across on the music at all. The music is just so positive, and this has got some great lines in it. The music will play forever and stuff. It's just beautiful.
Mm. Yeah, it is. It's quite a simple song in many ways. It's one of the simplest songs we've probably ever done. But again, it just rocks, and because we allowed, it's one of those songs where we allowed space. It's dare I say it, got the least amount of instrumentation out of any Cats in Space song, but it allowed the bass and the drums to really plunder on the verses, which is why it's so huge. And it just bangs in on the chorus. But again, it was a simple message of, we're not saying that we can be immortal, but if we are the last band in the world or whatever, let the music keep on playing. It's about not giving in. It's about, the
Yeah,
immortal ones are the ones that just don't give up and just keep going. Because
yeah,
unfortunately, not just in the music business, but all sorts of business, people are being laid off, people are giving up, they're changing this, whatever, because times are tough. The music business is tough. So it's an uplifting, shine a light on what's left,
yeah,
and
yeah,
let's keep
yeah.
going, keep going.
Yeah, absolutely great. And it's got a lovely guitar solo at the end as well.
Oh, Dean's solo.
Yeah,
Ooh, yeah.
yeah.
Another great solo on the Telecaster.
Oh,
Mm. Beautiful. So very Richie Sambora, I think. It
yeah,
reminds me of
yeah,
Richie
yeah, yeah,
Sambora.
yeah, yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know why, but it's a great. Again, it's a great. He's got such a feel. Dino. When he gets into that groove, he can just play the most beautiful, fluid little lines. No histrionics, just beautiful
No,
lines.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's again part of the package of Cats in Space is that everything serves the song. I think we mentioned this before, but it really does. The guitar
100%.
solos are brilliant, as is the bass, the drums, everything, but everything serves this vision of this cinematic,
Yeah, it's not
emotive,
blues. Yeah.
you know,
It's
you
not
know,
all about the guitar solo.
yeah,
Riff. Let's get to the guitar solo.
yeah,
We're not that. Everything plays for the song. And if it doesn't sound like it's playing for the song, it doesn't get through. It just gets bumped off. Simple as.
yeah. And then we have When Love Collides, the last track, technically on the vinyl album, the ballad. Um, this is just epic, and I'd put down here because I'd listened to the album in succession, each track, obviously, but when I listened to it after this is about the third run through. This actually brought tears to my eyes, not because it was sad, but because of the sheer joy that this album brought me just from streaming it. So all of you watching this, you're going to buy a copy anyway. But I felt that for Damien, this was to me his vocal performance of his career on this track, I just felt it was just amazing. And of course, the solo as well.
Yeah. Well, for a start, it's one take solo again. Dean did that in one take. He just said, "I'll just run it. I'll give it some." And I know we say that a lot, but I guarantee you that is a one take guitar solo. Hate him for it. But it's just like, what the hell have you just done? He said, "Oh, that felt pretty good." I went, "You're done, mate." Damien's vocal, again, I wrote the music on the piano a while ago, and originally I had it earmarked as a duet. So I just felt like it had it could have a Meatloaf, Bonnie Tyler type thing. But for one reason or another, it just sat. And one day I just thought, there's something about this song that, although it's quite simple, if I can finish it off right, i.e. the end section, it's got to be a Cat song. So I gave it to Damien. I said, I've got the chorus, I've got the title, got the melody. I don't know where to go with the first verse. And he sent that back to me again. I'm like, oh my God. But he did it full voice. So in the studio, he sang it full on right off the bat. And it was amazing. We sat there and I went, could you try and do it like almost in your breathy kind of half voice? See whether we can really lock that piano into the vocal. Just see if, oh, okay, yeah, I'll calm it down a bit. And he did that vocal. And me and Ian Capel looked at each other in the studio and went, oh, jeepers creepers, what's he doing? And that's what the emotion is. It's that. It's like, and we had the vocal really close on the mic. So when you hear it, it's in the room with you, and yeah, I have to say, it's as good as he's ever sung.
I mean, things like "I Fell Out in Love with Rock and Roll" and "Kickstart the Sun," some of my favourite Cat songs. This automatically just went straight into that. I thought, because I know you always finish the set with "Fell Out in Love with Rock and Roll," but this is just his voice, and I mean the way you arrange all the backing vocals, the layers and layers and layers of them. It's just like immersing yourself. It's like diving into a pool of rock music. I don't know how to best describe it, but this music is immersive.
Yeah, it is. I mean, when again, immersive is a good word. It's like I said, we want to make everything concise but immersive, and everything played its part. And when we did the recording for real, I wish we'd have filmed it, because it was actually like we didn't know how to fix the two halves together, because we hadn't demoed that. Me and Stevie hadn't demoed the join bit. We said we'd leave it to the studio. So when he puts the drums in and the big crashes, it was empty. There was nothing there. And he said, well, how are we going to get from that to the build up into the big key change? I went, all vocals, like Bohemian Rhapsody. I said, we'll just do it all vocals and drums and a bit of bass. I said, and a piano. So it'd be just like Bismillah, no, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So we said, okay, we won't do that here. We'll do that back at Ian's studio. So we did all the stuff. It was the last song we did on the album. And for ages, that song was like, that's so weird. I mean, the beginning of that song was amazing. But what happens at the end? I said, don't worry, we'll get to it. And it became the very last thing we did when Mick Wilson came in. Mick had to go because we blew his voice out, because we really worked him very hard on this particular. And I said, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll put down my vocals, and I'll do a whole bank of different harmonies, what I think will be the parts.
Yeah.
And then you can come in and do yours, and we'll probably take half of mine off because they'll be rubbish, and etc. So we really just focused in on that vocal section, and that's why there's so many on there and why it sounds so massive, because we really said, let's make this the biggest Cat vocal we've ever done. And there's a load of that. I mean, there's 7-part harmonies. It's just insane. And we got Mick, me, Damien, I think, and Julie. I think Julie did it, but there's a lot of vocals doing it, and it just went into that massive outplay. Yeah, it's
just amazing. See, at some point in the future, Greg, there's going to have to be a 5.1 mix of that.
Well, if we get Stephen Wilson to do it, because Stephen Wilson's our hero nowadays. We've done a rabbit hole on Stephen Wilson, me and my girlfriend, a few weeks ago on holiday, and we've lost ourselves in the Stephen Wilson world. And I'm like, oh my God, that man, what production is he doing? mean, yeah, for him to do a remix would be a bit special, wouldn't it?
It would. Now on
If you're listening, Stephen, how much do you charge?
yeah. No, it would. It just. I think the whole album would be good as a Blu-ray 5.1 mix.
Yeah.
Now the vinyl album stops there, but the CD carries on with 3 extra tracks. I just want to touch on briefly, really. And this is inspired. This is inspired. If the Cats are going to do any cover versions, I don't think you could pick of any better ones. Now, No Regrets is kind of unusual, but for me personally, I remember this song and this album, and because it used to be on Family Favourites on a Sunday when my mum and dad were making Sunday lunch, and it was this song that's just followed me through my life, and so it's in a way it's an unusual song for a rock band to cover, but the way you do it, and it's over 6 minutes long. It's
Massive.
just massive.
With BJ Cole playing lap steel that did the original Walker Brothers version.
Yeah,
so BJ Cole did that as part of the Kickstart the Sun sessions. He did that as a favour for us, because I told him that we'd had a recording of No Regrets that we were going to revisit, which we did. And once BJ gets sent to his part, it's like, oh my God, we've got the lap steel, pedal steel, or whatever it is from the Walker Brothers. And it's like, oh my God. And when it comes in, me and Ian just went, we got to redo it all. So we took the drums off, the piano off, we did all that down at Salvation, and we treated it as a whole new song. And of course, Damien did his vocal, and yeah, it's one of my favourite songs. I've said it before, but the bonus tracks in this album, I don't say unashamedly that they're my 3 favourite songs of all time, and I wanted to do them, and the band went, yeah, they're great songs, let's do it.
Because isn't Damien sings it like the original for the beginning, doesn't he? His voice is, and then he flicks a switch and just takes off.
Obviously. Yeah, I mean, he said, I'll do the first bit as it is, and Ian, who's a massive Scott Walker fan, said, I've worked in this business for 50 years, and I don't know anybody that could do Scott Walker. No one can do a Scott Walker. It's impossible. He said Damien's as new as it gets, for that kind of baritone vocal, and to have the power down at that area, because it's Scott Walker's voice. It's like a bar of chocolate, It's so thick. So we did it. Yeah.
And then the next one, of course, Music is probably the most Cats in Space sounding song that's not by Cats in Space, isn't it? In a way, and you must have had. Because what I'm trying to say, sometimes when people do cover versions, it's almost as if, we need to put an extra bit on, a bonus track. But this sounds like you put as much effort into arranging this as you would an original song. It isn't just, it's a cover version of music, everybody. It's just beautiful. Yeah,
you got to do it proper. I mean, we did the backing track is done live in the studio with the VIPs watching us.
Oh, so that must have been amazing.
Oh yeah, but obviously we had Jack doing one bit of brass, so then after that he had to overdub all the other bits of brass himself. Then Andy Stewart had to replay the whole orchestra by scoring out the Alan Parsons original, and Andy Stewart had to sit there in the studio with me and Ian, just track after track after track after track of building up that. That's all Andy doing that. All done. I mean, phenomenal. The good point with it is that we used to play the song live in our Supersonic 70s show. Oh. So we've done it live a lot between me, Andy, Damien. Steve has played it live with us when he's played with the show a few times. And Jeff has done it in one of his other bands in Germany a few times. So apart from Dean, we all knew how to play that song. And we knew that we did a good job of it. So we went, I want to do music. If Cats in Space is going to do something, we're going to do music. And everyone says, you're so John Miles influenced, which I am. As we know, I'm a huge John Miles fan. If you're going to do it, do it.
Do it,
and we did. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you do Slade's best song ever.
Yeah, which we've done before with Danny Bowes, of course. So we just really did that. Again, live with the fans in the VIP thing. So they got to see us do it. And Jack again did the brass. And it's just a modern version of how we did it when we used to tour it back in the day.
Oh, it's brilliant. And the album's out on the 25th of October. It's Time Machine. It's out on vinyl and CD. Yes, you can stream it to listen to it first, but get a CD, get a vinyl album. In fact, buy both, because you'll get extra 3 tracks, which are worth it. Now, you're also about to go on tour, aren't you, from October the 2nd?
October 2nd, the Time Machine tour begins. It goes right through till Christmas, apart from November. And it's going to be a visual presentation. There's even better than the one we did on the Kickstart last year. It's a new presentation. We've got a new cat pod that James Heron has
Wow.
devised, different side screens, and it's going to be phenomenal. It's going to be like nothing else you've seen on this level of show in this country. Fact.
Oh, well, it sounds
So buy a
fantastic.
ticket, otherwise we're all going to be losing our houses. We didn't lose them last year, but we'll lose them this year. But
No, I
yeah,
think you're just going from strength to
in all
strength.
seriousness,
But
it's
I
a
mean, it's
show. It's a
finally
show.
this is also coming out. You've got a new record deal. I mean, this is, a lot of things have changed since we last spoke. I mean, this is
Yeah.
this is.
Well, we wanted to, right from day one, we always said that if we play at being a record company for too long, we'll probably implode because it becomes such a difficult task. And we went on and on and on, and we knew how much we could generate financially. We knew how to do it. Between the band, and a few people that we have on our team, we did a good job, but we couldn't get to Europe. And the goal right from day one was if we do 4, 5, 6 albums, we're going to need to do a label deal at some point and let someone redo them because we've sold out of everything. We can't repress it. So we need someone to buy us out, basically. And one thing led to another. Vicky and Mark at Esoteric, they saw some footage of us on the Kickstart tour and they went, blimey. And a good friend of mine said, you need to talk to Cats in Space because they're a band you need. And they got in touch. We went and had a meeting, met the guys at Cherry Reds. I know for a very good friend of mine, Steve Hammonds, who works for Cherry Red, he kept recommending them to me and this, that, and the other. And it all just kind of went like that. And they totally get Cats in Space. The products, the physical, how we do things. Because handing it over, don't forget, for me and Stevie was very tough.
Yeah.
It's like waving your little kid off to boarding school.
Yeah. I can imagine.
After the war. Yeah, and it was very tough for us because we were very, very precious and very emotional about, all of what we've done because we've done a hell of a lot of stuff. So to wave it all off was a risk, but they've been brilliant so far. So
well, you've got such the way that you portray Cats in Space with the imagery, the branding, your personalities, the community you built up around the brand on social media, the way the fans, even in the Now Spin magazine Facebook group, there's so many people in there that love the band and have been to see you. I think the fact you've got support now from a major label, so you can just concentrate on the creativity of the shows and the music. I just think you're on the launch pad for great things.
So. Well, I think Time Machine is the launch pad. I totally agree. I mean, we've done a great job up till now, but we knew that we had to make the first album for the label, concise, very direct, but also have a message that everybody can relate to. And I think we've really achieved it far more than we probably thought we might do, because Kickstart was no easy task to follow. It was
no, absolutely not.
Where the songs come from, I've got no idea. But we worked. I'm not, me and Stevie, but we started before last summer. We started demoing new songs as we're always a year ahead. So we started demoing, and we didn't even know why we was demoing because we said, look, we're doing these new songs, but we haven't really got the infrastructure to release another album. We just thought, I can't do it again. We were broken. We really were broken. I said, let's just do it because something good will happen. And as we go along, let's see what turns up. And I'm the master of saying, let's see what turns up. It'll all be okay. Never doesn't matter, And Zoe is a bit more like, oh God. And Steve is like, I don't know what to do because I'm in Greg's camp, but I'm also in the bank camp as well. Yeah. I said, something turn up. And it did. So it was, everything's lining up, fingers crossed, that if the guys can do a good job there and get us into Europe, I think it's the Blue Touch Paper job.
Oh,
because the Germans, the Swedes, and all that lot out there, they don't really know our back catalogue.
No.
When they find it, I'm hoping they're all going to go, what is this band? He says in a terrible accent.
I think they will.
They'll backpedal and buy all the back catalogue. So fingers crossed, it's very exciting times. Once that album's out, people will hear it and bang, But come and see us on tour. They must see us on tour.
Exactly.
Without the tour, we're nobody,
Very true. So to find out about the tour, go to the website is catsinspace.co.uk. So,
yep.
And you've got lots of merch and things for sale as well, haven't you? You've got your own store on there.
Loads of merch. Always got loads of merch.
Always
New
got
merch
loads of merch.
for the tour as well. There's exclusive merch coming out for the tour as well. Ready for the winter. So people like a hat. We've got some nice hats coming.
Excellent. Excellent. That's what's Time Machine, 25th of October, 2024. Your best album yet, Greg. And thank you so much for your time today. It's been absolutely wonderful to talk to you.
Absolutely, and thanks for getting us, because you're one of the great ambassadors for Cats in Space. You totally get what we're all about, and it's makes my job so much easier talking about it, which I do a lot.
Well, you're very welcome. Well, thanks very much, and we'll catch up soon. Thanks very much. Thank you. Mate. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye. A huge thank you to my guest, Greg Hart from Cats in Space. Time Machine is out on the 25th of October this year. Hopefully, by the time some of you watch this video or listen to the podcast, you already have a copy and you'll know exactly what me and Greg have been talking about. This is undoubtedly their finest album, and I can't wait to get hold of a physical copy myself. How they've managed to better kickstart the sun is just amazing. This is music for now. This is rock music. This has all of the influences that I've mentioned before, but this is 100% Cats in Space. This is music that uplifts you. It changes the atmosphere of the room. When I say things like music is the healer and the doctor, this is really what I'm talking about. This lifts you up. Whatever's going on outside on the news or how dark and cold it is, this music just shines a light. It's just beautiful. The performances, the production, seriously, give this a listen. There's nothing wrong with streaming, because that's how many of us discover things. But no matter what your age or demographic or background, listen to this album. It's fantastic. And talking to Greg there, such nice guys, just great stories. We've gone through the whole album there in that podcast. And I hope it's giving you a little bit of kind of insight or anticipation to go off and listen to it. So check out catsinspace.co.uk for all the latest tour dates. It's fantastic. They're signed to Cherry Records via Esoteric. There's lots of merch to buy as well from the website, but check that out. The album is Time Machine, out on the 25th of October. Cats in Space, one of my favorite bands at the moment. Absolutely brilliant. So thank you for watching and listening. Please check out the website, nowspinning.co.uk. Subscribe to the podcast. We're on Spotify, we're on Apple Podcasts, we're on YouTube. Wherever there's a podcast, we are. And check out the YouTube channel. Subscribe there, or the private collectors group on Facebook, Now Spinning Magazine, or everywhere, wherever you are on social media. So are we. And remember, music is the healer and the doctor. There's lots of merch from Now Spinning Magazine as well. So please stay safe, keep spinning those discs, and I'll talk to you all very, very soon.